watching TAG TV.
Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Surabhi Sharma. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Thursday, the 15th of November. Indian Prime Minister attends 13th East Asia Summit in Singapore. US endorses non-military solution for Afghanistan, says State Department. And Sri Lanka grinds to political halt amid parliamentary chaos. And now for all the details. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday attended the 13th East Asia Summit in Singapore, during which the leaders of the grouping discussed global and regional issues, including maritime cooperation. He reiterated India's commitment towards a peaceful, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific region and for a balanced regional economic partnership.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday attended the 13th East Asia Summit or EAS in Singapore, during which the leaders of the grouping discussed global and regional issues, including maritime cooperation. Prime Minister Modi reiterated India's vision of a peaceful, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific region, strengthening maritime cooperation and commitment to a balanced regional economic partnership. The members of the EAS consist of 10 ASEAN nations: Australia, China, India, Japan, New Zealand, South Korea, Russia and the United States.
We also exchanged views on future directions for the East Asia Summit in response to the complex challenges we face today, so as to maintain regional peace, stability and prosperity. To facilitate discussion, Singapore has proposed statements on concrete issues such as cybersecurity and smart cities, so that we can explore ways to deepen and broaden cooperation among the participating countries.
Earlier in the day, Prime Minister Modi participated in the ASEAN-India Breakfast Summit, where he underlined the need for maritime cooperation and centrality of trade for the prosperity of the strategic Indo-Pacific region. During his two-day visit, Prime Minister Modi also held separate bilateral meetings with the world leaders on the sidelines of the summit. He had earlier said his participation symbolized India's continued commitment to strengthen its engagement with ASEAN members and with the wider Indo-Pacific region.
In news from Pakistan, Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi has said that Asia Bibi, the Christian woman who has been acquitted of a blasphemy charge by Supreme Court, cannot leave the country because of pending review of her case before the top court.
Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi has said that Asia Bibi, the Christian woman who has been acquitted of a blasphemy charge by the Supreme Court, cannot leave the country because of pending review of her case before the top court. While speaking to the media after attending a meeting of the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs, Qureshi said that Asia Bibi was in Pakistan and said how she can leave the country when the review petition against her is pending. Officials have maintained that Asia Bibi is at a secure location in the country, dismissing some reports that she had been flown abroad. Ultra-religious Islamist groups and political parties have objected strongly and held several protests across Pakistan since the acquittal and release of Asia Bibi from prison. They have threatened to paralyze the country with more street protests if her acquittal is not reversed. Asia Bibi was convicted of blasphemy in 2010 over allegations that she made derogatory remarks about Islam after neighbors objected to her drinking water from the glass because she was not a Muslim. She has always denied having committed blasphemy.
In news from Afghanistan, Afghanistan's interior and defense ministers, while briefing the parliament on Wednesday, rejected claims that the clashes in Uruzgan and Ghazni provinces were an ethnic war. They blamed regional countries and terrorist groups were trying to exploit the current crisis.
Afghanistan's Interior and Defense Ministers on Wednesday rejected claims that the clashes in Uruzgan and Ghazni provinces were an ethnic war and said regional countries and terrorist groups were trying to exploit the current crisis. While briefing the lower house of parliament on the security situation, the ministers confirmed clashes are ongoing in at least 10 provinces in the country. They said regional intelligence agencies and terrorist groups are using everything at their disposal to cripple government forces.
صادقانه گپمی است که تهدیدات خیلی بالاست، توطئه‌ها علیه وطن خیلی بالاست و امکانات موجود فعلی نهادهای امنیتی و دفاعی کفایت کننده دفع همین تهدیدات نیست.
دشمن و حامیای دشمنای مردم افغانستان و حامیای توریستا آخرین برنامه‌ریزی خود کردن که باید کمر ما را بشکنن. ولی ما چی کنیم بالاخره؟ ما مجبور هستیم با همین امکانات داریم از وطن خود و از این خاک خود و از
Heavy clashes have in the past week spilled over from Uruzgan to Malistan and Jagori, which has caused thousands of people to flee their homes. Officials have said that extra troops have been sent to the two embattled districts from the Ghazni provincial capital to tackle the Taliban offensive. Reports suggest that both the Taliban and Afghan forces have suffered a major casualty toll in the clashes.
The U.S. State Department has said that both civil and military officials in the United States endorse a non-military solution for Afghanistan and that Washington is committed to a peace deal between Kabul and the Taliban. U.S. Special Envoy for Afghanistan, Zalmay Khalilzad, is currently in the region on a mission to seek a negotiated settlement to the 17-year-old conflict.
The U.S. State Department has said both civil and military officials in the United States believe that there is no military solution to the Afghan conflict, and that's why Washington is committed to a peace deal between Kabul and the Taliban. During a news briefing in Washington, State Department spokesperson Heather Nauert said the ongoing visits of U.S. Ambassador Khalilzad in the region show Washington's commitment to a lasting peace agreement. She also refuted reports that Washington wanted to delay the Afghan presidential elections scheduled this year and said US is committed to the overall electoral process and will not interfere.
I think it shows the fact that Ambassador Khalilzad is in the region shows our commitment to a lasting peace agreement, hoping that we can facilitate the Afghans and the Taliban coming to some sort of lasting peace agreement. Our officials have long said, including the DOD, that we don't see a military solution to this outcome, to this in Afghanistan.
U.S. Special Envoy for Afghanistan, Zalmay Khalilzad, is currently in the region on a mission to seek a negotiated settlement to the 17-year-old conflict, which has so far killed about 150,000 persons. This is Khalilzad's third visit to the region in less than 2 months and takes him to Afghanistan, Pakistan and Qatar as part of a mission to persuade the Taliban to work with the Afghan government for a peaceful settlement.
Moving on to news from Sri Lanka, Sri Lankan Parliament Speaker Karu Jayasuriya on Thursday said there was no functioning Prime Minister or Cabinet in the country after Wednesday's no-confidence vote. His comments sparked chaos among the lawmakers in the Parliament.
Sri Lankan Parliament Speaker Karu Jayasuriya on Thursday said there was no functioning Prime Minister or Cabinet in the country after Wednesday's no-confidence vote against newly appointed Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. His comments came after weeks of political turmoil in the island nation culminated in noisy chaos on the floor of Parliament on Thursday. Soon after his speech, Rajapaksa's supporters poured onto the floor of Parliament and disrupted proceedings. The turmoil lasted almost 20 minutes, after which Jayasuriya, failing to bring the House to order, left Parliament without making any statement. Sri Lanka has been in turmoil since President Maithripala Sirisena fired Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe last month, replacing him with pro-China strongman Mahinda Rajapaksa. The instability in the island nation of 21 million people has raised concern for its economy, already expanding at its slowest pace in more than a decade. The crisis has important ramifications in a battle for influence in South Asia between Sri Lanka's traditional ally India and China, a country that is playing an increasing role in the region.
Indian Space Research Organisation on Wednesday successfully launched its 5th communication satellite from spaceport of Sriharikota in India's southeastern Andhra Pradesh province. The satellite will help meet the communication requirements of the people in remote parts of the country.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Indian Space Research Organisation or ISRO on Wednesday successfully launched its 5th communication satellite from spaceport of Sriharikota in India's southeastern Andhra Pradesh province. ISRO blasted off its heaviest rocket geosynchronous satellite, launch vehicle GSLV Mark III carrying GSAT-29 satellite. The satellite that weighs over 7,500 pounds was taken into the Earth's geosynchronous orbit, braving adverse weather conditions generated by Cyclone Gaja. It will help meet the communication requirements of people in remote parts of the country.
Just now we have come out of the very grand successful launch of GSLV Mark III, the second development flight, which launches or which carry the heaviest satellite GSAT-29 from Indian soil.
The Indian Space Agency is also working on launching its first manned space mission by 2022 that will aim to send a 3-member crew to space for 5 to 7 days in a craft that will be placed in a low Earth orbit of 300 to 400 kilometers. A special train covering key destinations associated with the life of Hindu Lord Rama was flagged off from Indian capital New Delhi on Wednesday. The train, having a capacity of 800 passengers, would cover holy destinations in India and Sri Lanka over a journey of 16 days. A special train covering key destinations associated with the life of Hindu Lord Rama, Sri Ramayana Express, was flagged off from Safdarjung railway station in Indian capital New Delhi on Wednesday. The passengers boarded the train after being greeted by railway staff to embark on their 16-day-long journey in destinations across India and Sri Lanka. The special train would cover all the holy places visited by Lord Rama during the course of his 14 years exile, according to epic Ramayana, depicting his struggle to rescue his wife Sita from the clutches of demon king Ravana.
पहली बार जा रही हैं यहाँ पे और इस यात्रा के लिए बहुत ही उत्साहित है और बड़ा अच्छा लगा कि सरकार की तरफ से ऐसा रिलीजियस इनिशिएटिव लिया गया।
या तो ये हाथ देख के ऐसा लग रहा कि मैं अपने आप को बहुत ही सौभाग्यशाली फील कर रहा हूँ, अपने आप को बहुत ऊंचाई पर फील कर रहा हूँ कि भगवान राम के उस जगह पे जा रहा है, यहाँ पर उनके चरण पड़े, यहाँ उन्होंने यात्रा की, यहाँ पर उन्होंने यात्रा समाप्त की।
According to the Hindu legend, Rama was born as an incarnation of Lord Vishnu, the god charged with preserving the cosmos to eradicate evil from the earth. His saga is depicted in the Hindu holy book Ramayana. Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. Indian Prime Minister attends 13th East Asia Summit in Singapore. US endorses non-military solution for Afghanistan, says State Department. And Sri Lanka grinds to political halt amid parliamentary chaos. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.